Logic's ambassadors are passionate, engaged, and knowledgeable leaders who are the voice of our community. New ambassadors are selected annually, so if you have what it takes to inspire other educators in STEM, robotics, and coding this year, we'd love to have you join us. Learn more and apply at logicsacademy.com/community. And are you looking to be inspired this school year? Look no more. The newly added free Logix webinar series is meant to equip you with various tools to help you teach and enhance your students' digital literacy skills. From various topics and speakers, you will not be disappointed. Learn more and sign up for the webinars at logicsacademy.com/webinars. And now for my amazing conversation with the one and only Dominic Tremblay about Lego in STEM education. Welcome back, everyone, to the Logix Academy podcast. I am super excited about today's episode because we're going to discuss Lego in STEM education. That's right, we're talking Lego. And who better to join me than Lego Education Certified Teacher Trainer, Dominic Tremblay. Dominic, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Brian.
So, Dominic, let's tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about who you are and what your role is in education.
Mm-hmm. So I was a teacher in a small Franco-Ontarian school, small Franco-Ontarian schools kind of mean you teach almost everything. From K to 12, it was K to 12. Actually, I'll date myself, K to 13, when grade 13 was in existence in Ontario. And that gave me like a nice overview of education by being able to, see how students learn at different age level. My most favorite thing was to, let's say, teach science grade 4 and then go teach the same thing, physics grade 13, same concepts with just more like depth in what you're doing. And I've always brought these friends in the classroom, those Lego pieces and bricks. It's always been my passion. And about 12 years ago, I quit my job, started my business, and started working with partners like Logix Academy and a variety of school boards and school districts across Canada and even abroad, trying to do some STEM education, but bringing my passion, which is the use of Lego in the classroom. So that's basically who I am.
What an amazing story of your journey through education as a teacher, bringing the tools that you love so much into the classroom, and now the work that you do with Legos and educators. So my first question will be, how do you become a Lego Education Certified Teacher Trainer? Because that sounds like a prestige title. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Well, first is I just recently, like about a year ago, become a certified teacher trainer. I was a passionate user of Lego. I was using Lego like from being a little kid. I started with the Duplo and then the Lego and then the Lego Technic as a kid. And I brought that into my classroom. And then for the last 10 years, I was delivering workshops and bringing those in the classroom. But then I was offered about a year ago the opportunity to become a certified teacher trainer with Lego Education. So obviously, I jumped on the occasion. You had to submit a little video describing what you can do and got selected and then went to a training. But because it was COVID, the training was fully online. Normally, I would have to fly to Denmark to do the the training. But what it meant is because it was offered internationally online, I had to wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. because it was on Central European time. And did, almost a full month. The first part was like once a week meeting. And then the last week was an intensive week where we went through all of the, it's not only like product training. It's a lot about the research of learning through play. So they bring a lot of research and education. They're not just like a product company. They also bring the research and the pedagogy of learning through play. So it was awesome. And now I can actually use this title when I'm working with school boards and school districts.
That's super awesome. And kudos to you waking up so early in the morning for that long, too, for a month, not just a couple days here and there for a month. So kudos to you and congratulations on that certification. Let's dive into Lego in STEM education because and you held a couple up there. You know, many of us would remember Lego and still to this day what Lego are and what you do with them. But how do you integrate them into education?
Yeah, so there's different ways to do it. I know through Logix Academy, we do a lot of the robotics. So these Lego pieces and bricks can be assembled into robots, and Lego has all these interface microcontrollers, and it has like sensors and motors that can be used to create robots. And another part of my job is also to work with the WRO, the World Robot Olympiad, as a head judge, where I get to judge those kids who are trying to solve problems using Lego pieces. The thing I like with Lego robots that you don't always get with other types of robot is none of them look the same. Like you go to the World Robot Olympiad, they all look different because you can build them the way you want. You can put those motors, those sensors wherever you want. So it gives you a lot of freedom. That's one thing that I really like with this tool. But I also use Lego so many different ways as well. Like, let me just take a Lego Duplo here. In math, this Lego can represent different numbers. It could be 8 studs. It could be 3 tubes. It could be 90, because 90 degrees. It could be 4. It has like 4 sides here. But it could also be 6, because this is a prism, so it does have like 6 sides. So just one piece of very simple Lego can represent so many different numbers. And using them for numbers is just one thing. Imagine using them for measurement or statistics or probability. These pieces have so many uses. And what I like with my job is sometimes there are some ideas that I never thought, and the students come up with them. Like I was like, oh my God, I never realized that. Like, it's like, wow, my job is not boring. If I was just teaching math and science with textbooks, like the answer key is there and all the answers are the same. But with Lego pieces, they're all different. It's fascinating to see how creative students can be.
Wow, I don't think I'll ever look at a Lego piece the same way ever again. Then there's so many different things as you were talking, and you're like, "Wow, how about we try to find the volume of inside that that Duplo and anything else, right?" So,
yeah.
How would teachers get started? You know, we're so used to just building with Lego. How would somebody get started with it?
Well, if you're looking for already made lessons, the education.lego.com website has a lot of lesson plans. Obviously using the kits that are sold by Lego. Now, you can also join like Pinterest groups and Facebook groups of people who are passionate about the use of Lego, and they can use like almost any Lego pieces. As an example, this summer I did a lot of summer camps, and I could not assume that all the kids would have a specific set. Okay? So I just assumed they had random Lego pieces at home. And we started doing some building challenges using whatever they had. And it was actually even more interesting than them having kits, because I would get more diversity because none of them had the same pieces at home. So it was kind of interesting to let them do that. And even like we're talking math and science here, but like just think literacy. Storytelling, like when you use Lego, you can have, a setting, and you can have characters, and you can have actions, and students can take photos. And with EdTech now, you can add speech bubbles and create your own cartoon of your adventure. But students don't have this blank page syndrome that they don't know where to start the story, because they start with building. They talk with action, and then they bring the writing and the talking that we often do in our literacy classes. So even for literacy, they are an amazing tool as well.
Wow. And I feel like I could listen to your examples all day, because they're really cool. Like, I think many educators would see Legos, and I think we've seen them in many kindergarten classes for building houses and things like that. But it seems like you can go to a much wider range of grades because of what you can do with them. So what different grades have you seen Lego being used?
So those Duplo, definitely in kindergarten, students start building. They actually learn also skills like putting pieces together. It's not always easy at first. But, those literacy and numeracy activities that I was mentioning, definitely for elementary school, but even in high school, like you were talking about volume earlier. I have kids try to determine how much it would cost to build their house where they live using just Lego pieces. And, there's a lot of questioning, like, Mr. Tremblay, is it Duplo or Lego or a mix of the two? Your choice. Like, they get to make those decisions. Do we buy them in a kit? Do we have access to a Bricklink as an example? Where do we get those pieces? And they do all this research. They do a lot of math. They do a lot of computation. And then they come up with a price. And I don't want to kill it, but it's a lot easier to build your house with stuff at Rona or Home Depot. It's a lot cheaper than using Lego bricks. But, the activity of going through that, definitely like grade 8, grade 9, there's so much math involved in that it works well in high school. And when you talk about robotics, definitely all the way to grade 12. Because you can integrate, like a lot of students start with robotics, let's say in grade 6, 7, 8, using the Spike Prime, which is the replacement of the Mindstorms. But in grade 12, they work on error correction. As an example, let's say the robot has to read colors. So it has to move and read colors. Well, a lot of students in the early years, they will move the robot, stop, read the color, and then move the robot, stop, read the color. You're wasting time. Advanced kids will move the robot and reads 1,000 colors. As it's moving, it won't even stop. Then they'll look for peaks. So they'll do a statistical analysis. Like we're talking grade 12 maths and even like university and college math here. To be able to do that, that's how kids who go to the international competition will succeed. So the same bricks and pieces and the same software can be used with, little kids and can be used all the way to grade 12 and provide a challenge to these students. That's how versatile these pieces are.
Wow. And so it's not just the bag of Lego, as kids that we had laying around. It offers so much more than kind of what we would have imagined it to be. So you mentioned earlier kits, and you just alluded to it there again. Are there like education kits that somebody could go on and buy that would do robotics, and then maybe they buy another education kit that would do something else? Is that what you meant by kits earlier?
Yeah. So like right now, Lego Education has some kits. As we speak, they have like the Duplo Coding Express, which is a little train. And along the track, as the train is moving, you put colors. And these will create action. So kids are not actually coding on a tablet or a computer. They're coding by putting colors along the track, and the train moves and reads the color and do some action. As kids get older, they will use something called Spike Essential, which is for elementary. And then as they get into high school, they will use Spike Prime. You will notice that I'm not talking about WeDo and Mindstorms anymore, which were the sets that got retired this year. Actually, the day we're recording today, because I assume people will watch this in September, but the day we're recording right now, WeDo just got retired today and has been replaced with this Brick Essentials. So I'm kind of excited as well. And for science, they have those kits called Brick Q, which don't include coding, but includes a lot of science when it comes to like projectiles and center of gravity and kinetic energy and potential energy, all of these concepts that we talk to kids in our science curriculum.
Wow, there's so many different versions or options out there for people to utilize robotics and Lego together in their classrooms. That's so awesome. That's very cool. I didn't know that. And so it's great to be able to hear that those are available. And so, Dominic, my question to you is, our teachers who are listening right now getting inspired and thinking, I'm going to use Lego in my classroom. How can they be part of some professional learning? Is that something that you offer as a teacher trainer? Or is that something that people can kind of look at you and say, okay, Dominic, can you help us with Lego?
Yeah, that's definitely something that I do. And teachers can check out my website, if that's okay to mention it here, DominicTremblay.com. So they can have a look at my website. I have all the information there. And I do offer the official Lego training, where you get a certificate from Lego Education. So it's kind of cool that you have your certificate from Denmark. But I can also offer custom training. So teachers say, hey, Dominic, I would really like to cover my geometry in grade 4. Can you help me with that? And I'll do a custom training, which is not officially recognized by Lego, but gives you something that is useful for your classroom as well.
Well, that's great to know, because oftentimes we talk about these tools and different strategies, and then teachers wonder, where do I start, or how do I get help? So it's great to know that you're there and you're available to help them in their journey in utilizing Lego in their classroom. So that's great to know. So Dominic, I'd like to ask you this kind of final question, and I'm sure we've answered some of these throughout our conversation, but for our listeners out there, what would be your top 3 tips or your top 3 pieces of advice to educators who are looking to get started with EdTech or with Lego?
Yeah, like one of my first recommendation is you can start small. A lot of teachers feels like they need this huge collection of Lego pieces and bricks. And I may be a bad example because especially during the pandemic, I invited people in my room here. And I have access to almost any Lego pieces that I want in my drawers behind me here. It's not the reality in the classroom. So start small. There's actually a lot of activity called 6 brick. All you need is 6 Duplo bricks. That's all you need. And there are super fun activities to work on different concepts in math, literacy, logical reasoning, and even coding, like coding with only 6 bricks. So you can look online for those activities or give me a call if you want. So start small. You don't need a huge collection of Lego for that. The second thing I would recommend is don't be afraid if your students know more than you. They were raised with Lego bricks and pieces. They may know more than you. And even when it comes to coding, I often help teachers, support teachers with coding with Lego or with other tools. And they're a little bit afraid and go, oh, my students can't do that. That's way too difficult. And once we go in the classroom, they go, oh, my God, they learn way faster than I thought. So it's okay to get your students go beyond what you know right now. Because with Lego, they can be extremely creative, so they may bring things that you don't know. Even me, like sometimes they impress me with stuff I haven't realized yet. So it's kind of cool to learn from them. And my last recommendation, we finally have access because of social media, because of computers, to this online community. I'm not the only Lego nerd. There's tons of them, and we have access to Lego nerds from across the globe. So why not take advantage of that? Just do a quick search on Pinterest, a quick search on Facebook. You're going to find so many people who are doing Lego in education, and just follow them. You're going to have new ideas every single day. And you can also follow the Lego Education Facebook page as well, because they do promote some of their products, but they also have some ideas, like ideas with 6 bricks. They often do some, nice content post that gives you some ideas to use in the classroom.
And what a great top three. What a great top 3. And you mentioned, building that professional learning network across social media. I think that's fantastic. We had other guests who've said the same thing, because you're right. You get inspired by what people share and the photos that they share, and who knows what that will spark for you. And you've mentioned this. You've actually used this term, or you said this word a few times, and I forgot to ask. So you've called them Duplo. What is there a difference between Duplo and Lego? Is it the same name, or maybe I should know that?
That's actually a fun activity for math. I have a Lego brick here. Let me grab a Duplo brick from my collection here. I asked students, let me show them to the camera, how many Lego bricks can I put in a Duplo? They're both made by Lego. Duplo is usually designed for, kindergarten kids or preschool, but I still bring them in the classroom because, just to be honest, when I have a big construction, something big to build, it goes a lot faster. They are compatible. Magic. They work together. So sometimes when I have something big to build, behind all the visible Lego, I'll have some Duplo bricks. But that's also a cool question. how many of these Lego bricks do I need to build one of these? Like when we talk about volume, students will realize that they're double the length, they're double the width, and also they're double the height. So 2 times 2 times 2. They are 8 times bigger when it comes to volume. It's because you double the width, double the length, and double the height. So it's kind of cool also for students to realize that.
Wow. Okay, that's super cool. First of all, I didn't know that the little brick fit on the big brick. Maybe I'm new to this. I don't have a lot of Legos, but that's
and the opposite is true. Like, let's say I take a. It's a good thing I have unlimited Lego available here. Let's say I take a base plate. I can on a base plate put a Duplo. Oops, I didn't push it hard enough. But you can put a Duplo brick on Lego as well, so they're compatible. So it's kind of cool, and even though I know people say, "Oh, this is for preschool and kindergarten," I always have them with me. They're useful.
Wow, that's cool, and hopefully our listeners found that as interesting as I did, because that's news to me. I didn't know those fit together. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Dominic. And so, Dominic, I want to thank you for taking the time to join me on the podcast to share amazing information about Lego in STEM education and how you can support educators to find that and use that in their classroom. And I know we could probably talk for a few more hours, and I'd love to have you on the podcast again and talk even that the Robotics World Olympiad you were talking about.
Oh yeah.
To dive deeper into that. There's so much there. So we talked about social media and building that professional learning network. So all of our listeners, all of our viewers out there, don't forget to follow Dominic on social media, Instagram and Twitter, using @D_Tremblay. And I'll put that in the show notes for everyone to have access to as well, because you should see, we didn't even dive into the camps that Dominic is offering and those sessions that he offers for students as well. But we'll save that for next time.
And if you've ever been to one of my workshops, I will have my phone with me. And when I see something I've never seen before from a teacher or a student, I'll say, "This is an Instagram moment," and I'll grab a photo. So by following me on Instagram, you will see those teachers and student creations that I get to experience every single day.
It's super awesome. And thank you for sharing those via Instagram as well. And don't forget, all of our listeners and viewers out there, follow Logix Academy on social media @Logix Academy. Dominic, once again, I thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and sharing this really cool information about Lego in STEM education. And as always, my name is Brian Willett, and together, let's inspire innovation across the nation.